Hello, Alabamians, and welcome back to another episode of Alabama Unfiltered. If you're new to this podcast, all you need to know is that we're cutting through the bull. There is a lot of BS on many of Alabama's news outlets, online news reporting outlets. Today, we're going to be picking on 1819 and Yellowhammer News at the same time, because they both put out some articles. Well, one is Dale Jackson, who is a repeat offender when it comes to putting out misleading, false information. What he's trying to do in this Yellowhammer piece is just to throw you off the scent that anything is inappropriate about Tommy Tuberville's qualifications for running for governor in the state of Alabama. So in a Senate campaign, the requirements for the Senate in terms of state residency are much more lenient as they are for governor. Again, what I'm trying to do here is provide some really thoughtful, fact-based information for Alabamians to digest, because what Dale Jackson and what 1819 News and what John Wall and Tommy Tuberville and all of their cronies want you to do is just think of this as political warfare perpetrated by the Democrats to get Tuberville booted from the ballot. So this article, this is Dale Jackson's, video piece an audio piece that Yellowhammer puts out. But the title of the article is "Alabama's Most Irrelevant Political Players Will Totally Get Tuberville Booted from the Ballot." This was published on February 3rd, 2026. And the 1819 News article was published by April Fogel on February 3rd, titled "Political Hit Job versus Shameful and Politically Motivated. Wall Isbell react to dismissal of residency challenge." All right, so let's dive into this. We're going to approach it from a couple different fronts. I want to talk about why this is irresponsible reporting and why the Alabama Republican Party should have a higher standard of qualifications for who they run as governor. So Dale Jackson points out in his piece that Tuberville is virtually unstoppable, that he's got the campaign funds, he's got the votes, he's got everything, he's got the wind in his sails, right? Everything he needs for this to be a landslide victory in Alabama appears to be there. And what many folks are trying to do in our state, now that he is running to Alabama's highest elected office, is to go, hey, is this the best candidate? Does this put Alabama in the best position for success? We in Alabama, contrary to what Dale Jackson, Yellowhammer, and 1819 News wants you to believe, that Alabama is booming, right? Alabama is at or near the bottom in several categories, and it's unacceptable, okay? The Republican supermajority that has ruled this state for decades, this is their track record. All right, they have left a trail of breadcrumbs that lead us right to their record that has served only a small portion of our population. They certainly haven't been governing for all. So what they're trying to do here is just paint this as a Democratic hit job. Doug Jones and all the political leaders in Alabama and people running, the super PACs and all that stuff, they just want you to think of this as a political hit job, that there is no basis of fact or really anything that makes common sense or that there's any legitimate gripe here that Tuberville is not the man that Republicans should be putting forward. Now, I think this is a fair statement that if you're a Republican candidate in Alabama and you've got some basic communication skills, you hate Democrats, that's pretty much all you need. right? You're for low taxes. You're for propping up the wealthy in our state. You're all about the status quo and not, you don't see yourself as an elected official for all the people. Well, you're our Trump rubber stamper bootlicker, then bam, you are a prime candidate for governor in Alabama. And I think, they can find that person, that avatar exists all over the political landscape here in Alabama. So finding somebody that is a more qualified candidate than Tuberville should be easy, in my opinion. But one of the things that is noted here in my research, and I think this is a valid reason to question whether or not Tuberville is the best choice. And we're going to go through the realities of the situation here and just paint with a very specific brush instead of just a wide swath. We're going to really drill down this information here and let you make an informed decision based on the reality, the facts, how things have gone down. Because there was a hearing where the residency challenges were heard and it was dismissed. But they want you to think that this was a landslide dismissal. And it was actually a 9-9 tie. The 10-9 decision came down to the deciding vote of the active Alabama GOP chairperson. Guess who that is? Guess who that is? Somebody who's already joined the race for lieutenant governor in Alabama to be Trump's sidekick. I don't know. Should this be a more formal hearing by more impartial folks that are casting the vote? Because all these SOBs are in it together. They're in what we call cahoots, all right? So what's the best, I think, argument to put forward? Certainly, we can note that Tuberville has a long-maintained primary residency homestead exemption in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, rather than Alabama. The constitutional requirements, the Alabama Constitution requires a governor to have been a citizen of the state at least 7 years, all right, 7 years, and a resident for 5 years preceding the election. A resident of Florida running for Alabama's highest office raises serious legal and ethical questions about his commitment to the state. So what I want you to know about this is that Tuberville voted in 2018. Tuberville voted in Florida. Okay? So what this does is it negates his full 7-year requirement needed to run for governor in 2026. It is proof, I think, beyond a reasonable doubt that he's not meeting this requirement. Recent developments, all right? So in May of 2024, Tuberville added his name to an Auburn property deed, which his office cites as further proof of his Alabama residency. All right, that's his son's house. But the other issue I think we need to look at here is that there could be some serious legal challenges, and very legal challenges should Tuberville get elected. It's inevitable that this is going to be a challenged ballot, okay? And it's all there. The reasoning behind it is all there. The factual base for it, the legal merit for it, it's all there. It's all there. But they just, again, they want to whitewash this quite literally and just, have you be programmed to thinking, oh, this is just Democrats being Democrats, right? And this also feeds into the narrative that they push about election integrity. All right, so they want you to think that Democrats have made our elections less fair, that they're getting dead people and immigrants and all these other folks to vote. And yet, where's the proof? And the proof has to be in a number that would significantly impact the outcome of an election, and none of which, to that effect, has been provided that I know of. They find 33 fake electors here or whatever. The reality of this is that one of the biggest detriments the Republican Party led by Donald Trump have facilitated against our nation, much less our state, is a lack of faith in our election system. which is the freest and fairest on the planet Earth. The 2020 election, one of the freest and fairest in history. None of the inconsistencies and irregularities were found to have changed the outcome of the election. And you're always going to have some element of fraud in government, in elections. You can't get rid of everything. But what they've wanted to do here is create a narrative. Create a narrative that casts doubt and affirms the demonization within you for the Democratic Party and your fellow neighbors who happen to be Democrats or independents who are like, man, this train is off the rails, y'all. All right, so I also wanted to talk about the fact that Tuberville does not have a great track record as a senator. You know, many folks, there's folks on both sides of the aisle here that believe he is a failed senator. He lacks legislative wins. He's got way more controversy surrounding him than he does legislation that benefits Alabama, its industry, or our agricultural sectors. Where are the wins? Where is his resume of success that validates his candidacy for governor of Alabama? I don't see it. We all know Tuberville had a month-long blockade of military promotions, which was viewed by many mainstream Republicans as a tactical failure. So this is a bipartisan belief that Tuberville is a boob. He damaged national security and Alabama's relationship with the Pentagon without achieving any of his stated goals. All right, so what we've got here is a candidate for Alabama's highest elected office that would rather focus on national stunts over state solutions. Rather than focusing on Alabama's bread and butter issues, which there are many that I have noted that we are at or near the bottom. So do we want somebody that puts food on the tables for Alabama families, that provides for all Alabama families? You think about the remarks he's made about SNAP benefits. He's tried to label minorities, the inner city population of our big blue cities, as the problem, when in fact, like 35 to 37% of SNAP recipients are white, poor white Alabamians. I mean, so he's talking crap to y'all's face and you're not even recognizing it. You're not even recognizing it. He has put out a lot of bigotry, racism. You know, he's going after Muslims. He's going after Sharia law. He is talking and acting in violation of the U.S. Constitution, and by seeking Alabama's highest elected office, he is looking to dupe the Alabama Constitution. We can't allow that. I don't care how much you hate Doug Jones or how much you've been taught to hate Democrats your whole life by your Republican parents who did the same thing with them based on lies. I mean, everything out of the Republican Party that they don't like, they label as communism or socialism. They've been doing that since the Civil Rights Movement. Nothing has changed from their playbook. And hell, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because it certainly has worked. Because you got super, super poor Alabamians who are living in the most dilapidated conditions I've ever seen, with big Trump flags on the side of their houses. You know, just nailed to the side of the house, nailed to their barn that's fallen down. They're voting against their own interests. I'm just telling you to do some research, all right? We need a leader, not somebody who is seeking celebrity, not somebody who just wants to be, who loves the sound of their own voice and wants you to see them consistently on the nightly news bashing Democrats. I'm telling you, nobody wins, no matter what side is waging political warfare. At the end of the day, who loses are the citizens, the constituents. Those are the folks that pay the price. Okay? So let's just explore this very quickly. Coach versus governor. While Tuberville is a national championship winning head coach, the skills required to lead a football team, I don't think those translate to navigating the complexities of state government, a state budget, nor the Alabama legislature. And let's also point out that when asked in a live television interview to name the three branches of government, Tuberville, I believe this is accurate, it was an interview, that he couldn't name the three branches of government. What is accurate is he could not name the three branches of government. The setting, I may be wrong. All right? Alabama values versus out-of-state interests. A very legitimate argument can be made. This is my problem with Dale Jackson and folks like him and the guy with the big head and the big beard that runs 1819 News, is they're just full of crap. And they're just putting out all this bluster. And it's theater. It's political theater is all it is. And I don't know why they want to do this. What's their motivation for this? This is what you really got to ask yourself. Is it money, power, influence, fame, clicks, likes, followings? We need a leader. Somebody who really, truly wants to serve everyone in Alabama, regardless of political party, race, color, creed, religion, you name it. That's who we need. This is an all hands on deck. All hands on deck election for Alabama. All right? Tuberville wants to cut taxes, wants to cut the income tax, and replace it with what? Replace it with what? Demonizing cannabis, being vague about whether or not he would support a lottery. Oh, we'll take a look at it. I mean, what the hell, dude? What in the hell? So, the critics will tell you that Tuberville is treating the governorship as a retirement project from his Florida beach house. And that's not an unfair statement. That's not an unfair argument to make. And all Wall and the Republican establishment in Alabama want to do is discredit these very legitimate concerns, these very legitimate arguments. I mean, we have seen the Republican Party just in 2024 violate the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 14th Amendment. But yet they're the patriots and the party of the Constitution. What we're seeing is that they're the party of corruption. They're the party of cronyism, the party of grifting, the party of kleptocracy, the party of aristocracy, the party of authoritarianism. When we see our American citizens being gunned down in the streets of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then senators like Katie Britt saying that's the direct result of the rhetoric of Democrats. You guys have heard me talk on prior episode that the most dangerous rhetoric is coming from the top, the very, very top, and the commander-in-chief, yet she says nothing. Yet she has not sent her condolences publicly for the families and just said, listen, I don't agree with what they're doing. They were in the wrong place, wrong time. They shouldn't have been there. But man, my thoughts are with the families. How hard is that? Why is that difficult? I mean, I think the only reason why Trump is saying that the murder of Renee Good was a travesty is because her parents were Trump supporters. You guys, I can't end an episode, whether it's on Raise Red Living Blue or whether it's here on Alabama Unfiltered, without trashing Katie Britt, because that's exactly what she is. Fake trash. All right? And that's exactly what the majority of the reporting, I believe, in my humble opinion, is being put out by conservative radio, conservative news in Alabama, and this podcast exists just to provide a contrasting opinion that is rooted in research. Now, I know you guys don't have time to do it, and that's the purpose of this podcast, is just provide an alternate voice, because these voices are about serving their sponsors, about serving their subscribers, about serving their followers, about serving their algorithm. It has nothing to do with putting food on the table for Alabamians, providing affordable health care, all right, providing a lottery that serves the educational needs in our state. So think about it, y'all. You've got a big responsibility, and we got to rock this vote, and you've got to make an informed decision. You've got to want to see above the noise to make an informed decision, because your children and their children, the quality of their lives depend on it. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hey, would you guys do me a quick favor? You know, while you got your phone in your hand, or at the next stoplight, if you're listening to this driving down the road, whatever the case may be, hit that 5 stars. Give me a 5-star rating. Leave us a review. Share this with a friend. Help us expand our audience so that we can help Alabamians vote in conjunction with their own interests instead of voting against their own interests. All right? And I especially want to talk to you Republican women out there who are constantly voting against your own interests, whether it's in relation to your vote or your bodily autonomy. It's got to stop. This cycle of you having a second-class citizen mindset has got to stop. And this is what this propaganda, this false, misleading rhetoric is designed to do, is to mislead and create a community under false pretenses. All right, we got to go. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you real soon on the next episode of Alabama Unfiltered.